Recording, go ahead.
Our mission, Helping Parents Heal, is a nonprofit organization dedicated to assisting bereaved parents to become shining light parents by providing support and resources to aid in the healing process. We go a step beyond other groups by allowing the open discussion of spiritual experiences and evidence for the afterlife in a non-dogmatic way. Affiliate groups welcome everyone, regardless of religious or non-religious background. Attendance today at this meeting is voluntary, and we are here for the benefit of learning from and sharing with other parents whose child has passed away. It is understood that our discussions are intended to be confidential and not designed to replace traditional therapy or spiritual counseling. However, these Zoom meetings are helpful to parents all around the world, and they are posted on YouTube so that affiliate members who are not able to attend this meeting live can also watch. Helping Parents Heal offers a wide variety of speakers to allow parents to be informed about many possible ways to heal, to connect with their children, and to learn about the afterlife. The views expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect those of Helping Parents Heal, and we ask that you take from their presentations whatever may benefit you personally. Welcome, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm so glad that we're able to welcome Jackie for the second time. She's already spoken to our group. She is a past life regression hypnotist, and she spoke with Beth Maxwell last time. I know we're looking for Beth right now.
I'm here.
Okay, yay, Beth. So I guess that Irene unmuted you, which is perfect. So let's go ahead and pin all of you so that we can make sure that we don't lose you. So I'm pinning the three of you, and I'm going to just ask for Jackie to introduce herself, and then also the two of you, and tell a little bit about what she's going to be speaking about. And thanks so much for being here, all three of you.
Thank you so much. So grateful and humbled to connect with all of you again. And just a little bit about my background. I was trained by Paul Aran, who was the head of the Michael Newton Institute, Life Between Lives, in both past life therapy and past life regression, rather, and hypnotherapy. Trained by Carol Bowman, who is renowned in the field of children's past lives and reincarnation, in core beliefs, inherited family trauma, and also by Brian Weiss, who's very well known for many lives, many masters. He's also chairman emeritus of the Mount Sinai Hospital in Florida. And I guess the easiest way to explain this is I've always been on a spiritual path since I was 9 years old. And I have wanted to know everything I could about God, about spirituality, and that, excuse me, in turn, then translated into this journey of understanding everything I could about spiritual alignment, about soul connections, soul contracts. And just to give you a little bit of background on spiritual alignment, which Beth will elaborate on, spiritual alignment is really about directing our intentions and thoughts to the divine, right? And so why do we incarnate? To fully express and realize our divine nature. And what is that? That's love. And when we focus and direct our intentions and our thoughts on God consciousness, on, call it source, call it divine love, call it whatever it is that resonates with you, we then in turn align with what our true expression is. And that alignment is expressing love here on earth. And it's about fully understanding and realizing what our soul plans here on earth are. And Beth can elaborate on that a bit. And then Bernie Iannota is an HPH member and really just kind enough to share what her past life regression experience was. Bernie wanted to connect with her son, Patrick, and better understand what the soul plans were and what Patrick's experience was and what some of those questions that she had could be answered as far as what some of the details were surrounding his transition back home. And so at this point, I'll hand it over to Bernie, if you would be kind enough to share your experience.
Hi, everyone. I'm Bernie. I met Jackie for Christmas last year. I was in a class for 9 weeks, and she was one of the speakers, and I felt an immediate connection. I liked the way she spoke. She was speaking from her heart. I felt compassion and love, and I felt like I just clicked with her. So I think we worked about 3 times before I had my past life regression, but it was amazing. It was amazing. It amazes me how quickly it happens, and I didn't know what to expect. So I think it's about what you see, how you're feeling. So I went back to Roman times and my life there. And then Jackie said, okay, I'm going to count backwards, 3, 2, 1. And first, my father came through, and my dad's transitioned about 34 years ago. So I was in my 20s, and you know what? I didn't see him, but the minute she said 3, 2, 1, your father's here, the tears started coming down my face. Like I felt this intense love and light that I can't even fully explain. It was amazing. And then after I spoke to him a little bit, she did the same thing, 3, 2, 1, and your son Patrick's here. And it was it's given me peace. It's taught me that we're all here for reasons. We need to be still. We need to listen. And it's mostly about love. Patrick told me that he came this time to learn about choices. I don't know if making bad, I'm assuming that some of the bad choices he made helped him, on his journey. He passed very suddenly. Anyway, it made me feel good because he is at peace. He's always right next to me. And since I had this past life regression, I have a different relationship with him, and it was so awesome. My spirit guides were there, and Jackie just talked me through everything. And she said to me, do you want to go in your mother's womb? And I was like, oh, I would love that. But she said, no, you didn't want to. You went right back to the past. So I didn't do that. But just exploring, and it was just wonderful. The feeling will last me a lifetime until I see him again. And I highly recommend working with Jackie if you have the chance. I'm looking forward to seeing you next month. And she was wonderful. She's like, I could talk to her for 3-4 hours. She's like talking to a friend, and the time just flies real fast. But as far as my past life regression, I think I was under about 2 hours, Jackie, you said. And when we were finished, she said, I just kept writing and writing. As you spoke, I kept writing and writing and writing. It was awesome. It was awesome. And I highly recommend it as a parent, to bring you peace and feel that love. I felt him. I didn't see him, but I could just feel everything and talk to him. And it was just awesome. It was great. I highly recommend it. And I think now I'm going to work on my spiritual alignment the next time we speak. Maybe we could talk about that. So thank you all for having me here. And thank you.
So Bernie, a couple of questions. It was
Sure.
2 hours for the induction, but how did it actually feel? How long did it feel when you?
Real quick. Yes. I'm going to say
maybe
it felt like maybe 20 minutes.
Yeah, there's something called psychomotor retardation. So we here in linear time. And then when you achieve those altered states of consciousness, right, we're going from operating from beta brainwaves into these deeper alpha states and then into theta, we lose track of time.
Mm-hmm.
Here, time is linear, but in spirit, what feels like an hour here is like 2.2 seconds in spirit. And so people will be under, and when I say under again, let me clarify, because so many people think you're asleep or you're not in control, or you can't speak. It's actually the opposite. So, a good example is, I think we've all been guilty of being in a classroom and staring out the window while your teacher or professor are speaking to you. So you can hear them speaking, but it doesn't register what they're saying because you're zoned off. And that zone is our brain waves going from beta into alpha, and then from alpha into theta. My goal as I do an induction. And so what is an induction? Like Grace Smith, the hypnotist, says, hypnosis is meditation with a goal. And so my goal is to allow you to achieve a deeper state so we can get into those altered states of subconscious, right, into the alpha states, so you can revert back to memories in this life. And then we go even deeper, sometimes into the womb, sometimes you go directly into a past life. For everyone, it's different. Some people go into a regression, which is going back in time, and then skip right into a past life. And then other people actually go through the entire process. They'll go regression back in this time to experience memories in this lifetime, and then into the womb, and then into a past life. And so you are never not in control, you are never asleep, and you are never not aware. And just like that child zoned off in the classroom, you're just in an altered state that's relaxing and calm. And if anything, you're more hyper aware and more focused on what's happening, because you're not dealing with the conscious brain and all the chatter. You're in the subconscious and superconscious, which is really the soul consciousness. And that's the altered state of your brain that I am aiming to get you in. And we do so by doing a very relaxed, guided meditation using visual imagery. And so, Bernie, if you wouldn't mind, after the experience, what was it that you felt within days and weeks after? Because I always say, oftentimes after a past life regression, you will have epiphanies and moments of knowing and understanding, and the learning and the experience continues.
It does continue. I feel like I could connect with Patrick like this now, I'm more aware, which I think when you're connecting, you need to be in a still place, but be aware of your surroundings, your state of mind, being present in the moment. I think that's what I'm looking for. But I think of things now, and I've been thinking about a lot of instances when he was small and when things happen. And now I could look back and say, oh, that's why that happened. Oh, that's why that happened. I feel like I've grown a lot and I'm very at peace. It was a very relaxing, experience for me. And I'm remembering a lot more from way back years ago, things that I've never thought of again after they happened, many years before. But I will just never forget that feeling when you said, okay, he's here. And I was like, all I did was cry. All I did was cry, but it was a wonderful experience. I never thought that I could be hypnotized before. And I think it happened pretty quickly.
Oh, it happened very quickly. So, yeah. A really big factor is this trust, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's really important with any practitioner that you connect with, that there is this trust and this feeling of safety. Because Definitely. That is the only way that you'll be able to share these very intimate personal experiences and be able to do so in such a way that's cathartic and therapeutic, right? And so, Bernie, for example, you don't have to get specific, but I know going in, you had very specific questions for Patrick and for your dad, right? Because you specifically came regarding wanting to connect with Patrick. But as we did the work together in the spiritual alignment, we began to unpack some of these other experiences in your life.
Yes.
And I suggested that we seek some healing and understanding, right? It was about connecting to your mom and your dad.
Yes.
And you had a beloved nephew that you wanted to connect to. And so maybe you could speak on that, because it wasn't just simply connecting with your child, and that was the impetus, but it was also around understanding and healing family dynamics and relationships, and also getting a better understanding of why you had certain relationships in your life and why they played out the way they did.
Yes. And it's funny because when I first started seeing Jackie, I really wanted to find out like what my purpose was now. Like, I mean, Patrick transitioned, it'll be 7 years next month. And I did a lot of work the first 2 years. And then for like 4 years, I did nothing. And then last year I did a lot of work on myself, and I was having like a spiritual awakening. But when Jackie and I started talking about different things in my life, I was remembering things with my father that happened and things that were said. Same thing with my mother. So I found answers. I know I'm not being specific. It just.
Well, as far as Patrick went, some of the understanding that you came to in spirit was that one of his learning themes was about expressing, being able to express. He found great difficulty. Another learning theme for him was about making choices. And so that's why we incarnate, right? Ultimately, we incarnate to express our true divine nature, which is love. And then we also incarnate to experience learning themes that help us evolve. It feels so like an oxymoron to say evolve as a soul, because how can a soul evolve? But a soul does come here to learn, to grow, and to experience. And ultimately, if we can channel our suffering, right? And so, I have a wonderful spiritual teacher, and she would say to me, suffering and trouble are the greatest ways to understand wisdom. And suffering is not inevitable. But if we can learn how to transform our suffering to gain a higher understanding of ourselves and others, we could then begin to heal ourselves and then heal others. And that is what is incumbent upon each of us.
And it's absolutely,
right?
Sorry, it's 100% true. Yes, what you're saying is 100% true.
Yeah. And so that suffering is the teaching phase, right? But the learning phase is where we practice it here in life. And ultimately, when we have experiences like this, we gain a greater understanding that this was not happening to us, but these were part of our soul plans and soul agreements combined with free will, right? It could always play out in so many different ways because of free will.
Absolutely.
So, Beth,
absolutely.
Yeah, Beth, if you want to speak to what some of your experiences were regarding soul alignment, because you and I had allowed it to, well, actually you were gracious enough to allow it to unveil organically. And so Beth initially came to me with wanting a past life regression experience. And I say to anyone who's lost a child, the first avenue I would explore, in all fairness and all honesty, is seek a medium, someone that can truly connect you to the soul of your loved one who's gone back home. And I saw someone pose a question about how long do you wait for a past life regression if you've lost a child. And I would say that for everyone it's different. Typically you really need to go through the grieving process, and I would say typically for most people it's about a year, but everyone is different. Some people are in significant grief for years, right? And And so with each person, it's very subjective and very personal. You know, I've worked with many clients who've lost children, and for everyone, it's different. Sometimes I'll say to someone, you know what, let's do the spiritual alignment work first. And then depending on how you feel and how called you are to it, we can do a past life regression now, or we could do it 6 months from now. It really has to happen organically. I think for Bernie, part of the reason why the experience was so impactful was because we were able to work with each other several times before she had that past life experience for a few hours at a time. And in that experience of spiritual alignment, we were really able to connect and establish what her inherited family dynamics were, what the inherited family trauma was, because this is not simply just a past life regression. Some people come and say, you know what, I want your standard past life regression, and that's fine. But what I was trained in specifically was past life regression therapy. I'm not a therapist, but I was trained in and certified in hypnotherapy. And I'm not only wanting and hoping for the client to have that experience, but I also want them to be able to experience healing around what their core beliefs are and how those core beliefs play out in this life. And we were able to identify both Beth and Bernie's core beliefs and how they've manifested and how those patterns play out in this life. And so, Beth, you may want to speak a little bit to what the spiritual alignment was like for you.
Yeah, it kind of just all happened on its own. As Jackie said, I came in there very early on. I think it was maybe 6 months after Vivian had passed. And we just kind of worked together. And I found her through Vivian's field hockey coach that, so it was just divine, intervention that I met her and that we just started working together. And I just started to, after my past life regression. So we had spent we probably have maybe 4 sessions before I did the past life regression. And after the past life regression, something just like, it was cathartic, like Bernie's. I found out why Vivian and I had chosen this path, and it was for my learning. I chose it. Vivian had other things to do. There was other people that needed to learn from this, her friends and other families, and it was all supposed to happen like that, and that's how it was explained to me. But since then, I've been able to really, again, Jackie, her term is spiritual alignment. Again, she taught me that term. I didn't really know what it was, but since then, I've just really been able to understand and remember. And we always say it's the remembering. I'm remembering why I'm here. I'm remembering what it's like to be in the spirit world and what it's like over there. So now, since then, I've really, I still work with Jackie. I continue to work on other things, but I've really opened something up where I've gone into, some spontaneous past life regressions on my own. I've had 2 astral projections. So something really has opened up in me because and it's only been a year since Viv passed. I'm sorry, I have a new puppy and he's really annoying. But it's been a year since Viv passed, but I've really, I still have days that are tough, but I don't live a day or a moment without her. She's completely available to me. So are my guides, my elders. I have access to them when I need them. I can go there through my meditation or whatever. And it's because I've worked with Jackie and really been able to open up and align with what I'm supposed to be doing here in this lifetime. I don't know if that answers or, is where you wanted me to take that, Jackie.
Yeah, absolutely. So to touch on the spiritual alignment again, it's so important to understand that when a loved one transitions, it is a physical transition. But in the spiritual realm, we are always connected. We are never not connected. And the more that we align ourselves to the divine, right, with our thoughts and our intentions, the greater our ability to connect in real time. And for everyone, that translates differently, right? For some people, it's through automatic writing. For others, it's really the understanding that, first of all, we're all intuitive, but it's the understanding of how we are the most intuitive and what senses are the strongest. And I think, Beth, you can speak to this. I shared with you initially that you had these remarkable gifts and that you were in the process of aligning, and that while you simultaneously experienced a shattering, and it was hands down, I'm convinced, the most difficult soul plan any two souls can have, right? The most difficult. But while there simultaneously was this shattering of the mind, right, of the hopes and dreams, there is also this spiritual awakening. And I see it with so many people, and it's simultaneous. There's this, oh my gosh, there's something greater. There's something out there. And I'm not quite certain what it is, but I need to connect and I need to know. And then how does that manifest? It can manifest in speaking in real time to our loved ones, right? And so Beth and I recently had an experience where her daughter, Vivian, probably shared, I think, how many signs? There were at least 13 that we were 13 signs in less than 24 hours that we were able to document. And all of them were so blatantly obvious. They had Vivian written all over them.
And she messes with Jackie too. She messes with you.
She does.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Vivian was kind enough to kick open the restroom door when I was in the restroom. And I thought somebody was walking in. And this is prior to that, I had asked Vivian for signs. I had asked her for some really significant signs, and I said a prayer to her and sent her that energy. And I was in the restroom, and my bad, I didn't lock the door because we were at a healing center. And somebody comes in the door, and it was almost like somebody kicked the door open. That's how hard the door came in. And I grabbed the door and I said, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, someone's in here. Only to go outside to say to Beth, someone walked in, and she said, Jackie, there's no one here.
Yeah.
And so Vivian is really lovely at pulling my chain and sending really funny, remarkable vibes. But so to that point, when Beth started, one of her first statements to me was, I need to connect. I need to know how to connect. And I really and truly believe, Beth, you could speak more to this, that since the summer that we've been working together, you are seeing it in real time, and you are actively connecting with spirit. And so I don't want to take liberty with quantum physics because I am not an expert by any means, but and for all those physicists out there, forgive me, because we're going to do quantum physics for dummies now. But you know, in layman's terms, the principle of quantum superposition is energy can be in different places at the same time, right? And as far as quantum entanglement goes, you know, particles that connect and then separate are still always connected. So although they are not here in physical form, right? And what's the first law of thermodynamics? Energy is neither created nor destroyed, it's just transferred. So they are not here in physical form, but they are here in real time. And they are their absolute essence. So if your child was compassionate and kind, or if your child was just a funny heckler and just had a great sense of humor, that essence transitions over, and they are still the same in spirit. And so if they had a good sense of humor like Vivian and like to, you know, pull your chain a little bit, they will kick open bathroom doors. And if their essence was of just incredible kindness, that will translate over here on earth and you will see the signs. Now, people often ask me, what are the signs? Signs can translate in any way. First of all, you know your children more than anyone else. So how do you know? It's a feeling, it's a sense, and it's a deep, intense feeling of this knowing. You don't have to physically see it or hear it, but it's a knowing. And so it could be, a sign can be lights, right? And I have a lot of clients who will speak to this, but oftentimes when we're doing Zooms, the Zooms will glitch out, right? Or I've even had children come through EVP, right? Electronic voice phenomenon. And actively in real time, sometimes your dogs will be barking up at the air and you're wondering what they're barking at because they sense energy. They can sense those frequencies. And my goal is to help people and give them the tools to be able to access this in real time, right? And so signs can show up as electricity. Signs can show up as music. You know, you can pick a book off the shelf and open it up to a page and it will speak to you specifically. Bernie and Beth, you may want to chime in on what some of the signs are that you experience from your kids.
I mean, for me, it's just, and one of the things you have to do, and I'm sure many other moms on this can relate, you have to just surrender. You have to just let your ego go. And one of the things I always say to other people around me, you know, when I say, oh yeah, Viv did this, or she moved this or whatever, and they're like, don't you think that could be a coincidence? No, it's not a coincidence. I believe in everything in my heart that is a sign. And I always say, you know, maybe people think I'm crazy. That's fine. Think I'm crazy. If I'm wrong, when I get to the other side, it'll be funny, right? But for while we're here, what's wrong in believing that those signs are real? And those that something on your desk or finding something is a sign, or a song coming on is this. What harm does that do? It does no harm. All it does is raise your vibration, and it allows you to feel closer to your child or whoever's on the other side.
Absolutely.
That's my I mean, I've got the signs that Vivian sends are, I mean, daily. It's just music, and she's gotten pretty good at moving things around the house too. Yeah. So I mean, I get a lot of. How about you, Bernie?
Definitely music. And I have a bird feeder outside my kitchen window. I have them in the back, but I wanted one right outside my kitchen window because during COVID, that kind of became my office. So I got a bird feeder and there's birds on it constantly. But in the mornings, when I'm quiet, having a cup of tea, there's one bird that comes and sits there, and I swear he stares at me. I know it's him. He stares at me and he's like, you know, and I answer him. But I had these teeny tiny angel candle holders. So with the candle, they were maybe 3 inches high. And I had them on my counter in the kitchen. I had a very big kitchen counter. And one morning I got up and they were on the windowsill, and I moved them back. And the second time that happened, I moved them back in. I'm like, Tony, don't put the candles on the windowsill because it'll melt from when the sun comes in. He goes, I don't touch your candlestick, you know. And he would put them on my windowsill in my kitchen. He did it at least 4 or 5 times, you know. And he was a wise guy in life, and he's still a wise guy, you know. But I get lots of signs when I'm at the beach. It's awesome. But like you said, Beth, you have to be open. You have to just surrender and give up. Your mind can't be constantly moving. Then they're there, but you're just not getting them, because I was like that for a very long time. I was very closed off, and I knew it. I just didn't know how to undo it. But now that I've learned, it's unbelievable. They're always right with us.
They are. They never leave us.
I see some really great questions coming in. Elizabeth, you may want to facilitate.
Yes, I would love to. First of all, the first question is from Sherry, and she's asking about whether this can be done remotely. So I'm sure that she doesn't know that Bernie is in Sunset Beach, North Carolina. Beth is obviously in New Jersey, where you are. But is this something that obviously people can do?
Yeah, absolutely. Great question. So yes, I do this both virtually and in person. I have an office in New Jersey, but I do have clients all over the world. And it's very easily done. And honestly, thanks and no thanks to COVID. But one of the positive things about COVID is that all of us past life regressionists were forced to go virtual, and it's been very successful. Yeah, absolutely.
Wonderful. Anna is asking, how long after our children pass should we wait before we do a past life regression? Is that something you could answer?
Yeah, absolutely. So again, my heart goes out to you. The first resource that I would seek is a trusted medium to connect you, to help you through that initial transition rather. And for everyone, it's different. You know, when Beth first approached me, she was adamant. I think it was probably about 6 months after Vivian went back home. And I have to tell you, I conferred with Carol Bowman, who is renowned in the field for past life regression. And because I know for each person it's subjective, but typically we were taught to wait at least a year. But Beth demonstrated such a remarkable knowledge and desire to connect to spirit. And I truly, after several sessions with her, knew with all of my heart, I really did meditate on it because I knew she was ready. And my goal is to help people connect in real time, not just through the past life regression, but to be able to understand and feel that we have the ability to connect in real time with our loved ones. That is the ultimate goal. And to align spiritually, right? Again, what is the alignment? It's always being able to redirect our thoughts and our attentions back to source. So to answer that question, it's subjective for all. I would say the standard protocols typically wait a year. But if somebody desires to do it a little bit earlier, it's possible. It really depends on their demonstration of healing and where they're at.
Wonderful. This kind of leads into this next question. I think it's great. Krista just asked it. Do you need to be 100% open to this for it to work, or can there be a smidgen of skepticism?
I think even when people are really open, there is some skepticism. I mean, I had people come out of a past life regression and say, did that really just happen? Did I make it out? And you know, all of the great avatars knew, whether it was the Dalai Lama or Jesus or whoever it is that resonates with you, they all had an understanding that it was faith combined with imagination that enabled them to achieve their miracles. And being able to connect with spirit is truly a miraculous thing. I believe that we all have some doubts in different areas, but what better way than to just stay open to what an experience could be? Because when we're open, it definitely expands our consciousness and it expands us to what's out there. You know, oftentimes clients will say, I really want to believe and I really want to connect. And I say, well, you know what? Bring on your skepticism, bring on your cynicism, but do me a favor, couch it for 30 days. Just couch it for 30 days. And in those 30 days, ask for your loved ones to show you signs and connect. And it is often so remarkable. If they just make a conscious effort to pick up that skepticism back again in 30 days, put the date on the calendar, but just stay open. It's often remarkable, the signs. Sometimes people will text me and reach out and say, oh my God, I just got a sign. Should I be scared? But I don't even understand what this is. You know what? You asked for it. And your loved ones want to connect with you. Allow yourself, test it. I always say, test it. You know, I might transition one of these days, and God might be like, really? You told all those people to test it? Yeah, test it. Give it a shot. Open yourself to the possibility of what love is in real time and connecting to your loved ones.
That's beautiful. Joe McQuillan, who has been a speaker for Helping Parents Heal several times, he's saying, Jacqueline, this is the next step for me. How do you prepare for it? How long does it take? So it sounds like he's going to possibly look into becoming a past life regression therapist or hypnotist. Could you maybe just tell us a little bit about that, about being able to do that kind of training?
Yeah, absolutely. So I started out first with hypnotherapy. The first person I worked with was Paul Arand, and it was a remarkable experience. Back then, when I did it, it was all in person. Now the landscape is very different. You can do so much of this virtually. And then from there, from hypnotherapy, I went on to past life regression, and soon I will complete my life between lives, which got deferred due to COVID. That will be the third phase. There are so many remarkable teachers out there. Carol Bowman, you could do the Brian Weiss training at any of the Omega Institutes. There is quantum healing hypnosis technique. That's Dolores Cannon's technique. That's another one that I plan to get certified in. There's Melissa Tiers out of New York City. The first step would be to get trained by someone truly reputable in hypnotherapy. And, you know, when I did my trainings, I honestly spent 7 months working on 70 different people for free.
Wow.
Between 2 and 3, sometimes 4 hours at a time, practicing. And so for me, it was about building up that psychological muscle before I even ever charged a client. It's important that you have the experience and the ability to connect and train with people. And so I would really ask around. I mean, I'm happy to connect you with more information if you'd like to email me, but it's so important to connect with the right people.
I think that he's also very interested in knowing how long it takes when you are working with a past life regression hypnotist. How long does it take to be able to go through what Beth and Bernie have gone through with you, for instance?
Absolutely. So if somebody comes to me and they say, hey, I want to do a past life regression and I want it one and done, it could be done in 4 hours. It can also be broken up into 2 sessions, 2 hours each session. We do the intake, we figure out what your core beliefs are, and then at the second session, we will do the past life regression. But this is what I always tell folks. If you're willing and open and allowing it to unfold organically, I really recommend having a few sessions, especially regarding the spiritual alignment, but it can play out in any way that's comfortable for you. It's really what resonates with you. I feel so strongly that having a good rapport and a connection and trust are really vital because it's a very personal and profound experience.
Beautiful. Well, I have a question that's very interesting to me. Yvette is saying, I am curious about when you spoke about past life family trauma. What is it and how does it carry on through families or generations? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. Bernie, I see you. Bernie, you may want to comment and then I'm
While I was working with Jackie before my past life regression, she would ask me questions, you know, and I would say things, and she'd be like, "Well, what was it like? What was your childhood like? What was this like? You know, what was this like?" And I'd be like, "You know, I always had a happy childhood, you know, but once you start remembering things, how can I explain it? Things that you learned or were taught, whether directly or indirectly, have a big impact on you when you're young, and it carries through with you your whole life. It really does. And I didn't realize until I was working with Jackie that It's like a stupid little what you think is a stupid little thing, like stays with people for their whole lives, you know, and it affects you. It affects your relationships. It affects your career. It's, and like I said, I never thought that anything, boy, was I wrong. So it's good to learn, you know, their past hurts, their past traumas, their, you know, things that happen to you that subconsciously they're just always there, but you don't know it. Or you know they're there, but you have no idea why you do these things or react the way you do. So.
And so as part of the initial intake, you know, typically the first session is 2 hours. Why? Because I'm digging in deep. I want to understand every aspect of your family dynamics, about your parents, their lives, their grandparents, as much information as you could give me. And then I'm also, as far as the intake goes, doing a very comprehensive background on your life story. Typically, past life carryover reveals itself between the ages of 0 and 7. And so, for example, I remember Carol Bowman telling this story. As a little child, she would play underneath the stairwell with a neighbor friend, and they would hoard cans of food and play in the dark. Well, Carol had said that she had gone back to a life in the Holocaust, right? So you can see how that past life carryover transferred over. They call it a sanskara, or an imprint on the heart. And so these carryovers tend to play themselves out as core beliefs. And so what are some core beliefs? Well, the core belief can be, I'll be judged. They don't hear me. I'm all alone. I can't save them. I'm not good enough. And these core beliefs are beliefs that we have as young children. We may not even be aware of them as an adult. And so, Beth and Bernie, we identified what your core beliefs are. Were you aware of what they were before we identified them? And after the spiritual alignment work and the past life work, were you able to see how those core beliefs played out in patterns in your life?
Definitely. And like I said, if I hadn't had those sessions with you and you didn't ask me certain questions about, you know, your mother, your father, your sisters, you know, how did you feel when you were younger? So, but once I started thinking about that, you know, you were asking me questions and I started thinking about it. And then after the past life regression, yes, I could definitely see that I needed to work on things that you just don't realize that you have in you. I don't know how else to explain it.
And so to that point, when I'm doing the comprehensive intake, I am also looking at inherited family dynamics. And so an example of inherited family dynamics and inherited family trauma is Bruce Lee and his son, Brandon, right? They both passed away, very similar circumstances. Whitney Houston and her daughter, Bobby Brown Houston, right? There was addiction in the family. And so as far as cellular memory goes, so what happens is we've been able to identify, or neuroscientists have been able to identify that cellular memory, the theory of it, is this belief that in our cellular memory, we carry what our generational families have experienced 3 generations back. So if I'm saying it correctly, when your mom was an egg in your grandmother's ovary, or sorry, when your mom was protoplasm, while she was an egg in your grandmother's ovary. And so everything that your grandparents experienced through cellular memory is then carried down through you, and it goes 3 generations. And I saw someone asking about epigenetics. So epigenetics, and again, I'm not an expert in these fields, but I am a voracious reader and an innate learner, and I have just a natural curiosity for all things neuroscience and quantum physics, because I want to understand not just the spiritual and religious aspects of this work, but also some of the science behind it. I want to understand how the microbiome factors in, cellular memory, neuroplasticity, the mind-body-soul connection. And so as far as epigenetics, it's the expression of the gene. And so if we are continually inundated with stress and anxiety, our brains are being triggered to release chemicals that reinforce those feelings of depression, right? Cortisol is looping through your body. Every time your brain releases, or your brain rather releases these chemicals based on whether you're happy or sad, all the trillions of cells in your body are then responding to that through gene expression, right? So if you're continually depressed and anxious and your adrenals are constantly releasing adrenaline, and adrenaline is the stress hormone cortisol that's constantly looping through your body, it's putting tremendous amounts of stress on your heart. Your heart's working harder. That in turn creates a vicious cycle, and all those trillions of cells are responding to that chemical release. But if you're happy, if you see something, Laurel and Hardy movie, and you see a funny scene and it cracks you up, then your brain is releasing chemicals that reinforce those positive feelings. And then all the trillions of cells in your body are responding to that.
That's beautiful. We're running out of time, but there's another question that I absolutely love. This is Inna, who's saying, while in sessions, do people sometimes respond in languages other than English, doing these past life travels? Is that something that you've had happen in the past?
So I have heard about it happening with other regressionists. I have had people who have said that they experienced other languages being spoken during the regression, but that wasn't conveyed to me.
That's very interesting. And so, as I say, we have enough time for a few more questions. There are quite a few questions. One is from a mom who was asking about suicide in the soul plan. She's having a hard time understanding how that plays in. Could you maybe give your own opinion about that?
Yeah, absolutely. And this is just my opinion. As far as soul plans go, I believe that the soul knows that it will be a very difficult journey of experiences. Maybe the soul came here to learn about compassion. Maybe the soul came to learn about self-love, because through other lifetimes, it really hadn't experienced that. I don't believe that as far as soul plans go, that's what the soul planned to do. But what I do know is that there are exits, and typically around the time a person may have taken their lives, there was also an exit around that time. And if it weren't meant to be, I do personally believe that the spirit guides would have stepped in. That's just my personal belief. I also know my sister is a medium and a psychic. Her name is Gina Marie. And I know through her experiences that at no time, if someone chooses to go back home, it's because of the suffering that they were enduring. Our guides, our council of elders, they have nothing but compassion and love, and know that we get the opportunity to do it again. There is no punishment. There is no judgment. There is just the understanding that we will have an opportunity to experience that again at another time. But there is nothing but absolute peace and love when they transition over. They are welcomed back with open arms, because this earth gig, it's a tough gig. It's a really tough gig.
I agree. Georgie is saying something that I just think is fascinating. She says, once I was told that actually, since we all have free will, all deaths are suicide, and that there are no coincidences. So who knows? Maybe we're manifesting these things and it was all meant to be, no matter how it happens. But anyway, this has been absolutely fascinating. We have about 5 more minutes. I know you were thinking about doing a guided meditation. This might be too little time to be able to do that. But do you have any parting words for us that you weren't able to tell us already with the questions that you answered?
Yeah, absolutely. So I saw a comment where someone had said that they were amazed by all the animals that were on people's laps and in the screens. And so it's important to know that animals pick up spirit's frequency. And they do so in the same way children do. Unabashedly, they are so connected. Remember, children have just transitioned here from heaven. And so they have this deep connection and understanding the same way animals do. And so oftentimes when I'm working with clients, you know, their animals are just doing all these silly things like jumping on their head and their neck. Well, trust me when I tell you, they feel spirit. And so an easier way to understand it is if I blew a dog whistle, for example, you and I may not hear it, but the dog will hear it because it's picking up that frequency. Spirit operates at a different frequency, right? And so it's not uncommon for animals to be inundating, you know, their parents right now because they sense all the beautiful energy that's translating through in their homes, through this screen, through this community that's connected. And it truly is a beautiful thing to witness because they know and they feel. And, you know, earlier someone mentioned the word coincidence. The word coincidence comes from the Latin root coincere, meaning two lines meet at an exact point. What we consider happenstance is truly, truly spirit connecting, and we are privy to that synergy. And it's such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
That's beautifully said. And it's true. I totally agree with the fact that there are no coincidences. I used to think there were before Morgan transitioned, but I think that's so beautiful what you were saying about the animals. And it's funny because a lot of these Zoom meetings that we have animals walking across the screen as people are watching, which is always fun. And it's true that in COVID, we're kind of confined with our animals, but we're so lucky to have them, I think.
Yeah,
Thank
absolutely.
heavens we do have them. But thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Bernie. Thank you, Beth. I'm glad
You're
to be back again, Beth. And it's always so much fun to hear all of these validation stories, all of the messages that you've been getting from your kids. And thank you, Jackie. I wanted to just ask you if you could tell people how to contact you. That was one of the other big questions about how to contact you, how far out you're scheduling, how difficult it would be to reach you or to be able to schedule with you, and just a little bit about that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm scheduling a few months out. It's all word of mouth. Thank God it's truly so busy and I'm so grateful. So many of my clients are parents who want to connect with their children again. I also do a lot of work with anxiety, depression, and stress, and really impart tools because I had to learn to manage my anxiety, being an intuitive and an empath, and these decades of gleaning these tools has really helped me to manage that. You can reach me at an intuitive spiritual hypnosis on my website, or you can also email me at intuitivespiritualhypnosis@gmail.com. And I'm also happy to connect to anyone via a conversation to answer any questions they may have.
Great. I will definitely put that on the YouTube video when I post it so that everyone will be able to see that. And thank you so much for being here. Irene, have you already unmuted everyone so that
Yes, everyone can unmute and say thank you and good night. Thank you, Jacqueline. This is wonderful.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank
Thank you very much.
Thank you,
Thank
Jacqueline.
you.
It's wonderful.
Thank you.
It was
So much.
wonderful.
Learned a lot. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank
Thank you, Jackie.